This is a little thing that the mothers have got going around. They'd like to save the principal has resigned again for the 7th time in 10 years here. One of the mothers in town and a few others have passed out some petitions just to see if they can get signatures to ask her to reconsider her resignation. Myself, I think that it would be a great thing for her to reconsider. I think she was a great...
I understood that it was, you're asking the school board.
We're asking the school board to ask her to reconsider, but I'm saying myself, I'd love to ask her to reconsider her resignation, and I almost think that she would if the school board would ask her. I'm not sure the whole consequences or the whole anything that had anything to do with why she resigned. I just think it's pretty sad that this is the 7th principal that we've had in 10 years. Something's wrong. So,
do you know whether there's a reason why?
I don't. Nobody's telling anybody anything. Steve, do you have any idea what's going on?
Watch Channel 3.
From what they've had nothing but praise for the principal and the vice principal up until the last meeting. If you watch the last meeting on the PEG channel, they were going after everyone.
Yeah, I just think that you can't make any changes in 1 year and 2 years when things are laxed as they are. They need to you need to have somebody in there for a good period of time. I do on a personal level. I think she's doing a great job. But all I'm asking is if you're interested in trying to keep Tricia Mosier, have the school board ask her. The mothers of town are asking for any signatures that they can get. This isn't the only ones that they got pages of them, so I just brought this one because it was empty.
Charlie, do you have to be a registered voter to sign that?
I think all you have to be, I'm not sure. Do you have to be a registered voter?
I would think so.
I'm not a taxpayer.
I'm not
I
sure.
know some of the teachers.
Probably just a taxpayer.
I think it probably wouldn't matter.
A child in school.
It probably doesn't matter if they can take you off. At least it would show a good number of people. I mean, you win wars by soldiers and not single-handed.
No, I wouldn't think so. I think if you're a resident and a taxpayer in the town, you're paying, your taxes are going towards the operation of that school.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to be a registered voter.
I'm not trying to discourage anybody from signing it.
No, I'm just saying, I think as long as you're a citizen, a resident, and a taxpayer in the town, I think you have every right to sign that because your tax dollars are going to fund the school.
Well, if you have kids in school too,
Right. I'm not asking everybody to sign it. All I'm saying is if you think that Tricia Mosier is doing a good job and you'd like to see her reconsider her, we got to still get through the planning board, the school board. The school board has to be the one to ask her if she's not going to accept it. They're the ones that put her to the test, and she resigned, I guess, and that's all I know about it. So here's the thing, if anybody needs to sign that. I suppose we get going. We pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You want me to sing?
Yep. In read of laws, we're going to sing the national anthem.
Robinson.
That was wrong.
Oh boy. There's a full pot.
Yep. Hey, we'll have to edit that one. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say? Or anything before we get started? Or is there anything on your mind? David? Anything on your mind?
I got a lot on my mind, but you don't want to hear about it.
Ken Fifield, Chief of Police, is here tonight to give us a PowerPoint on his department, and I'm just going to let him come up and get to it. Chris Connolly is supposed to be here. He's running for re-election on the Carroll County Sheriff's Department. I'm hoping he still shows up, but he had intentions on being here, but must be a crime spree up in Ospey and needs his attention. So, Ken, why don't you come?
Thank you, Charlie.
Huh?
Not again. They're in Ospey.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. I think I'm familiar with everyone here, so there's no introduction. Some more than others. Basically, Charlie talked to me about doing a presentation, and you know, a lot of times, you know, there's questions: how does the police department work? You know, what is it made up of? And how do we utilize the people that we have in the department to get the most bang for the buck? I
Can't hear
speak
you.
up more? Okay.
That's not a PA.
Oh, it's just a
That's just for
recorder.
me.
Okay. I typically talk soft, but I will crank the volume knob up a little bit. So, is that better? Okay. Anyways, what I wanted to go through was a couple of things. I want to go through, start with the town report that we had, what trends we're seeing in town with what crimes and whatnot, and then I would have a little PowerPoint presentation about how we utilize the offices and you know what we need for manpower and what we don't. I want to put right out front there what I think you guys would probably think is the good news is when I do this presentation, there's no catch at the end of it. I'm not looking for more offices. So just putting that out front. And what I had done is I did a similar presentation about 3 years ago when we got the cops officer. This is a little different than that, but it's a similar presentation. And what I said at that time was in 5 years, I'll come see you and tell you how I think we're doing with manpower. Well, it's not 5 years yet. It's 3 years. And I can tell you things are getting busy and hectic, and some of the downturn in the economy has an effect on that. But we're trying to hold our own and we're trying to tread water. So I'm going to start with the town report, which you guys will probably see when you get your books. And I also got a couple of copies here too, just if you want to throw them out there.
And do you know where the town reports are available at now? Are they just at
Town hall, yeah, and I think they're gonna put them out on the 13th on voting day. But they're all at the counter, Tony has them all, so, yeah, they're all out there.
Thank you.
It was one thing reading it in the book, but it's another thing having someone live talk about it, so, you know, so. Anyways, going down to policing efforts. Can everybody see this? Okay. Okay. Again, this year, we did the grant patrols. You know, we're still doing DWI patrols, speed patrols, commuter safety patrols, the alcohol prevention patrols. What we're seeing right now is, and it's probably going around the neighborhoods, is we have had an increase in burglaries. So, you know, our goal is to keep this town like Mayberry if we can. You know, Mayberry is the model for our town. We all, you know, we have that down home feeling. We want to be comfortable in our homes, but you will have some crime. So if you take reasonable precautions, we can limit some of the crime, but we do have a little bit of spike in crime. We're noticing that when we arrest people, a lot of the crime is driven by drugs. So, and when we talk about drugs, there's also harder drugs coming to the area. So those are the things that we're concerned with. The other thing that's occurring now that we're a bit concerned with is that there is an increase in at-home violence. And that could be, you know, that can be exasperated by people not working, funds being lower, people arguing more, because people do tend to argue over money, but nevertheless, when you don't have productive things to do, sometimes it hurts the home. So we are seeing an increase in at-home violence. So those arrests have gone up. We're gonna be doing a couple of programs, we're pretty popular. We're gonna do the gun safety program again, and which, talks about what your rights are, how to protect your home, get you familiar with a firearm. We're very pro home defense in our department. We're going to do a thing on fraud, which is still, it's a multi-billion-dollar business, so we're doing a little thing on fraud protection. And we will do a thing on hard targets, which is property crime protection. So those will be coming. And I'm not going to go in intricate detail on everything, but I'll get down to the numbers here, then I have a PowerPoint presentation. I think you folks knew that Tom Mix retired. Probably, I think everybody does. He was like a fixture in town. So Tom's retired, and we hired a young lady, Mary. She has a 4-year criminal justice degree, and she's part-time certified. She'll be going to the police academy in April. And for those who, do you know Dennis Mercer? You guys know Dennis. He was voted Officer of the Year. And then down to our crime stats. If you look, and if I go to the board, it might be, well, I might get in the way actually. But obviously, what I've done is this chart that tracks the crimes over the last reasonable amount of years. But the burglaries went up, 49 burglaries versus 45 versus 39, and they were kind of, a slight rise. But so now, you're looking at probably burglaries this year, about 50 burglaries. So that's not real great.
Already, you mean?
No, we'll probably, if the trend stays the same, we're looking at 50 burglary investigations this year. So it means, we got to do a couple of things to harden up our houses, our targets, because that affects, that's not good. Criminal trespasses actually dropped down a little bit. Thefts dropped down a little bit, but still you have 100 thefts, 40 criminal trespasses, 80 criminal mischief is up a little bit. Arrests, which is a little bit different. We were down on arrests, but partly because a lot of the arrests are motor vehicle arrests, and when we're working on cases, we don't have really that much time to be on the road. So our motor vehicle numbers have dropped. Car thefts are down a little bit. They were 10, 15, 10. They're down a little bit. Domestic violence, like I said, went from 71 arrests to 98 arrests. So that concerns us, because that's a pretty good spike. There's a 50% spike in at-home violence. Sexual assaults, that's a nasty thing, always stays about the same, but in motor vehicle activity, like I said, we had less motor vehicle activity because we're actually on other more substantial cases, so the guys are sitting in the PD writing reports, so therefore they don't get the 3, 4, 5 quick calls. Accidents, we are improving in accidents. Roads are getting safe, we're getting less accidents with more traffic and less injury. And we haven't had a fatal. I don't want to curse, I don't want to bring, we pray God we don't have another fatal, but it's probably a good idea, but we haven't had a fatal in a couple of years, so where you guys know what the history is. So I think some of the accidents and the serious injuries can be attributed to all of the grant stuff we're grabbing up there, all the grant patrols. I think they're making a difference on that, so I'm happy with that. Animal control, you guys know that that Fred Grants have taken that on, and ultimately the top number, which everybody looks at, is calls for service, which actually dropped and went down to 14,300 versus 15,000 last year. I think part of the reason for the drop in it is that when you're stuck on a couple of major cases, you're not out on the road grabbing other calls. So that's going to tend, you'll actually be busier, but you'll be doing less calls, if that makes any sense. So that's the reported crimes, and then if we get down to this, and I don't list every charge when I do these reports, but I list the charges that kind of make DWIs, and DWI is a 37, you know, assault burglaries, and so out of the burglaries, out of the 49 burglaries we had 14 arrests, so we've got about a 30% clearance rate, arrest clearance rate, which is pretty good police work, actually. So that's the town report. And before I go to the presentation, you guys, you know, any questions on the?
There's quite an increase on the animal control calls for the last 2 years. Is that just because maybe records weren't as thorough before, or?
No, what
or
happened
there are a lot
was.
of really wild animals out there?
No, see where the numbers were always low, 100, about 200. The police department always did a couple hundred animal control calls. And then Henry Blanton did the rest of them. And then when we took on animal control from Fred Gabranson, that's why it spiked up, because he's doing them all. It's the police department's doing them, but we're now counting them all. See, Henry used to do his own year-end report.
Right, that's true.
So that's the difference in that. So roughly animal control calls about 1,000 a year. So animal controls are interesting, you know, because they're kind of interesting. You can go to a house and tell somebody, well, you know, hate to tell you this, you know, your wife has run off, your daughter's in an accident, but your dog's barking. What do you mean my dog's barking? You know, they'll get some. They get some. They're interesting calls. So, anyways, any other questions on that stuff? I know that was real brief, but.
Under charges of interest, what is involuntary emergency admission?
That is when somebody is, that's a mental illness type of custody. It's not actually, we take a person into custody, and because they're gonna like do harm to themselves or something, like if somebody's attempted suicide, has overdosed, you know, and it's a mental illness type of custody. We'll take them into custody, bring them to the hospital, sit at the hospital, wait till they get a doctor, and in most of those cases, they'll go over to the state hospital. But it's not actually like a criminal arrest. So. Then, oops.
Ralph had a question.
I figured I could wait.
Oh.
Well, when we go back to the child.
Well, I was thinking of those hard targets and protection and stuff like that, and is there any one fix that you would recommend before another, I mean, other than neighborhood watch?
Yeah, there's a real brief thing. We have a nice program on it, which is going to give you a lot more than this, but I can give you a couple of minute thing. Best thing is visibility. Clear the house for visibility. Yeah. And instead of leaving lights on, put the motion detector lights on. Because what happens is your neighbors will get used to your light on all the time, and they don't notice it. Put a motion detector on, the neighbors go, hey, something's happening over Joe's house. So open it up so people, if you give the crooks a place to hide, they will. So open it up, clear the vegetation, let the neighbors know. And basically, anytime you see something that you don't know the answer to, just call. We'll go out, we'll stop by, say, hey, what's going on here, where you coming from, or whatever. We'll just, and if it's innocent, it's innocent. If it's not, it's just, you know, but call on it, anything like that. That's the best thing to do. And neighbors, visibility, and knowing what's going on is the best solve. So.
Up in our neighborhood, if anybody's gonna go away for any length of time, or even a weekend, we let everybody know in the area.
Email everybody in.
The other thing you could do is tell us. We'll go to the house and do a security check. So if you're going, call the station, talk to Arlene, say I'm going from, you know, March 1 to March 15th. The key holder is Jack across the street, you know, and we'll go out and check on it, and we'll document checking on it, which is good for a couple of reasons. If you happen to have a break-in, we'll have a window of time we know when it occurred, which helps solve it. The other thing is, too, if we're stopping out there and checking on it, and the goofballs are riding around, that they tend to go the other
Yeah,
way.
they go the other
So
way, yeah.
call us when you're going on vacation with. I'd rather do a security check, 2 or 3 of those, than do a burglary investigation.
Yeah.
You know, so. Let's see. Okay, let's figure this out. You guys ready?
Sure.
All right, I'm not the most technical guy here, but, all right. This is, kind of simplified, but the basic responsibility of a police department is administrative, run it administratively, supervision, investigate crimes, prosecute the crimes if we make an arrest, basic patrol coverage, which is the most important, community police, and that means working with you guys so that we have a good exchange of information, and crime prevention. What we try to do is, you have to cover at least all of that in running a PD. So that's your basic responsibility areas. So with that said, we'll move into how we do that. There's a couple of ways that you cover police work, and part of it is, we're open obviously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we never shut down. Whether people get sick, don't get sick, whatever, we don't go out, we don't shut down. So there's 2 patrolmen on right now taking calls as we're sitting here. So the following slides will address the coverage. So 2 patrol officers are on a 24-hour basis. We divide the town into roughly north and south sections, allowing 1 officer to follow up on report writing, administrative duties, while the other officer's on patrol. That's, if we get that balance that way. Sometimes they're both doing paperwork, sometimes they're both on patrol, but just as a general rule, one guy will say, Dennis, you got paperwork? I'll go on patrol, you do your paperwork, and then Dennis will get done with his paperwork, the other guy come, So the nasty part of police work is that there's just a ton of paperwork, and you cannot get away from it. It'd be nice to just leave people out the whole shift and not do paperwork, but it doesn't work. What we're trying to do is have somebody in town all the time. When these guys are driving around town, they see the cruisers, like the blue shark out there, they go the other way. That's what we want. Make it so that they don't want to do business in town. So the basic patrol officer, he's going to answer calls, motor vehicle patrol, community policing, he's going to write reports, do log entries, and then when the supervisors work with him, he's going to do investigations also, which interviews, arrests, accidents, emergency responses, court appearances, civil issues, and etc. And you guys know what cops do, but I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but this is how we cover our clock, though. We're open 7 days a week, 24 hours. So we have 5 basic shifts a day. So they start, it's midnight to 8 in the morning. An officer comes on at midnight, gets off at 8. Then we have 8 in the morning to 4 p.m. An officer comes on at 8, gets off at 4. We have 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And what we do is try to overlap the shifts, so not everybody's coming and going at the same time. And then we do a 4 to midnight and a 6 to 2. In reality, that's not 2 on at all times, that's 5 shifts. To have 2 on at all times, you need 6. But what we do is we send 2 supervisors who will take home their cars, and from 2 o'clock in the morning till 8 in the morning, they'll be the second person, if needed. What happens is they'll get phone calls in their car, they have less than lethal, they have an extra car, and so sometimes they gotta jump up, put a suit on, and get out, and sometimes they just answer it by the phone. But the nights that the supervisors take home when they're covering call, it's kind of go home, stay home, you can't go out, don't have a beer, stay home and be ready to go out. So if nothing happens, if they just get a phone call, then they don't come out. And it's part of their job, and That's the way it is. If they come out, then they're the second person on. Because there's a lot of things you just can't go to alone. You can't go to domestic alone. You can't go to 2 calls at the same time alone. You can't go to 2 accidents at the same time alone. You can't go to something, a major party alone or a major accident alone. So in the daytime, you know, we're covered because you've got the 2 officers on at all, 2 patrol guys on at all times. But nighttime, that's how we do it. We do it with that extra supervisor.
What is the total of your staff?
We have 10 full-time and we have 6 part-time. But we actually have 7 part-time shifts. And then we have Henry Blanton. But that slide's coming up, so I'll give you that one. But we'll get there.
Ken, Tony, go ahead.
I kind of fall into the motor vehicle activity thing, and so you're telling me that it's better for me than to drive at night between, you know, midnight and 6, probably?
Leaving the steakhouse?
Well, I don't drink, so.
Yeah, it's actually, there's actually more investigative calls during the daytime. So there's probably less motor vehicle activity going on during the daytime than there is at nighttime, which is almost opposite of when you need it. You really need the motor vehicle activity during the daytime because that's the people who are driving around trying to get into your house. And what you want is you want an exposure to them. You want to stop them and say, hey guys, how's it going out there tonight? Hey, I see that you're around, no working today. What's those radios in the back of the car? Because most of the burglaries and stuff are during the daytime. So you really need a lot of activity during the daytime. Yeah, what happens during the daytime is a typical burglary is, you know, they're not working. So they have the luxury they don't have to work. Right. The rest of everybody else is working. So it's, if someone comes to the door, hey, where's Maple Street? Oh, yeah, I'm lost. No one comes to the door, well, we're in and we're out quick. So daytime is most of your burglaries. So anyways, not to say they don't happen at night. The ones that last week, I don't know if you guys read in the paper, those were actually a nighttime burglary. And it's actually a stiffer penalty to do a burglary at nighttime. Because people are home and you're going to run into people, not just property. So it gets dangerous.
Should be a stiff penalty whenever they do it.
That's right. Well, and that's why you need home protection too.
Chief, I'd like to put something up. You know, something that will deter a criminal faster than anything else, even if you don't have one. Put a dog silhouette out in front of your house. Or we personally have 2 dogs in the house. And I don't think a burglar is any more afraid of something. They don't even know how big the dog is, but if it starts barking, they're gone.
Well, dogs, very few houses get broken into that have dogs. But also, you know, it's not, we've had several instances where, you know, a person being in the ability to protect themselves has gone a long way. So, you know.
The problem with having dogs is your burglar comes up to rob your house, your dog comes out, bites him in the ankle, then they go back and they file a lawsuit against you.
I want to talk about that.
They file a lawsuit because they're not supposed to be at your house to begin with, huh, Rita?
Yeah.
He's on the floor.
So, how do you cover those shifts? So basically, if we do 5 patrol shifts a day, times 7, that's 35 shifts a week. Full-time employee generally works 5 shifts a week, so that's one guy who works 5 shifts. So 5 full-time patrol shifts equals 25 shifts per week. We have we use part-time hours to cover 7 shifts. This will make sense as I go through it. And then, so what happens is that if you're going to cover 35 shifts, and 5 of the full-time patrolmen are covering 25 of them, you're short a few. So what we make that up is with part-time